Hey, what's up, everybody? Coming to this morning with another 2020 mid-year top 10. This one is going to be on the 168-pound super middleweight division. That's currently my number 3 division in boxing. It's tied for third with the middleweight division. I'm favoring this one just because Canelo's ranked in both, and he is almost for sure going to be competing in this division in his next fight. So, some big things going on there. So let's run through the top 10, see what we got going on. First off, no dropouts from December, at least that I can remember. I don't believe anybody's dropped out of the top 10 since then. Everybody's pretty much the same. Not a lot has been going on due to the coronavirus. Let's jump right into the top 10. Still at number 10 right now is the former interim champion and world title challenger, John Ryder of the United Kingdom. Well, Ryder's been lobbying he's been lobbying strong for a showdown with Canelo. He's actually an option for Canelo, surprisingly. I don't think he's going to get that fight, but he is an option, and it is possible because Canelo is not looking to fight somebody too threatening. But Ryder doesn't bring a title to the table. Canelo beat a guy, knocked out Rocky Fielding, who beat John Ryder before. I just don't think it's a big enough name for Canelo, but you never know. He might get desperate, and John Ryder said he'll fight him. Ryder has also wants a fight with Callum Smith. I still think that's a possibility. I don't think him or Smith is going to get the Canelo fight, so I think there's a good chance they face each other in a rematch. They fought last November. I also think Ryder could face Danny Jacobs. I think Ryder's willing to face anybody. I'm not sure if he even cares about taking an interim fight in between. I think he's down to fight whoever. So we'll see. I'm leaning towards the Callum Smith fight, and if he gets that rematch, I think he's going to lose again a lot more convincingly than he did back in November. Excuse me one second. Next, and still number 9, is contender Lionel Thompson. Haven't heard anything from him. Thompson's highest ranking is number 9 in the IBF right now. He's a widely avoided fighter right here. This guy is just not, he's not gets serious consideration. David Benavidez was considering defending his title against him in April, but he passed on that one quickly. He leaned towards Caleb Truax and then landed on Romer Angulo. But, this guy's not a guy that everybody's going to sign up for right away. Personally, I think he's just going to end up staying busy. I think there's an outside chance he gets a Caleb Plant fight for the IBF title, but I don't see that happening. So just wait and see, but I think he's probably going to come back, fight on a PBC undercard, just stay busy, possibly take on, a lesser name and an IBF eliminator, but we'll see. Next at number 8 is the former IBF champion, Caleb Truax. Truax is the highest rated contender in the IBF right now. He actually returned in January. He got I think a TKO victory over an unknown fighter. He's supposed to come back in February, but something happened with his opponent, so that fight got scratched. He hasn't fought since then. He's trying to still make a name, still get back in contention. He's the highest rated contender in the IBF right now. He at number 3. We don't have a number 1 or number 2 fighter right now. So personally, I think Truax, there's a very good chance he's going to fight somebody either to become the IBF's mandatory number 1 contender, or I think there's a good chance he gets Caleb Plant in the ring for the world title. I think Plant's trying to stay busy and fight his highest rated guy so he can just keep pushing forward towards a unification bout next year. If I had to pick, I'd say Truax is going to fight him, but we'll see. We got to wait and see and go from there, but that's what I think is going to go down, and I think he'll lose and get stopped against Caleb Plant. Now, probably be the end of Truax's career, but we'll see. He's got to get that fight first. Next, and still number 7, is the former 2-time WBC champion, Anthony Dirrell. I know Dirrell about a month ago was an option for Canelo. He was one of many options for Canelo. Haven't heard his name in a while. I don't think he was ever really seriously being considered. I think it's one of those last resort type deals because, he's a former champ. I don't think he's going to get that fight. Again, I don't think he's being seriously considered. From what it looks like to me is we're probably just going to see Dirrell come back and and maybe fight in an eliminator, WBC eliminator against a lesser name, or just stay busy is all he's going to do. Dirrell wants to get back in line for a world title, but I think he's number 5 in the WBC right now, so he would have to probably go through somebody in an eliminator in order to get that title shot. So we'll see. But personally, I think he's just going to stay busy, get a knockout win, shake off some rust, and push into 2021. Next, in still number 6, is the undefeated IBF champion, Caleb Plant. 1 second, guys. Plant made the second defense of his title in February when he made a mandatory defense against Vincent Feigenbutz of Germany. Excuse me. He dominated Feigenbutz with ease, picked him apart, scored a 10th round TKO victory, and retained his title, not surprisingly. Plant was being considered. He was a short-term consideration for Canelo, but he passed on it, saying it wasn't enough time to train. Now he's thrown himself into the mix of names that would be willing to fight him, but it doesn't look like Canelo's camp is interested anymore. He kind of had his opportunity to consider the fight. He passed on it, and that's where Canelo's people are right now. He's trying to call everybody out talking shit, but he's talking a lot more shit about Benavidez, saying David Benavidez doesn't want to fight him. David Benavidez can't fight him right now, and he's not, of course he leaves that part out when he talks shit. He talks shit about everybody instead of staying busy. And realizing that Benavidez has 2 mandatories due, and that's why he can't fight him. I personally think Plant's going to end up facing somebody like Caleb Truax. I think there's an outside chance he gets an Anthony Jarrell fight, or faces Lionel Thompson, guys all from the PBC. But I think he probably will want to make a mandatory and an easier fight than those two, and take on the former champ Truax, dominate him, and push forward towards 2021 to unifying belts. But we'll see. Next at number 5 is the undefeated WBO champion, Billy Joe Saunders. Saunders was supposed to be fighting Canelo in May. That got scrapped due to the coronavirus. Then they were trying to postpone it, and then he didn't look like he was going to be factored in. Then it looked like, he was going to be the front runner again for a fight in September, but he agreed to $8 million for the original fight. He took himself out of the mix for that fight because Canelo was going to be taking a pay cut, big pay cut, to just get him, into a fight in September, because it's very likely not going to have a crowd there. And Billy Joe Saunders just doesn't seem keen on taking a pay cut, at least not a significant one. So that fight doesn't look likely. He doesn't look like an opponent anymore for Canelo. Other than that, we don't know what he's going to do. I think he's kind of all over the place right now. Behind the scenes drama with Saunders always weighs that guy down. And, I really don't know what that guy's going to be doing next. So just waiting to see what we hear, if he makes a mandatory, if he makes an optional. I personally think he's just going to stay busy and face whoever and retain his belt and push forward to 2021, but we'll see. Next, and still number 4, is the undefeated WBC champion, 2-time WBC champion, David Benavidez. Benavidez decided on facing Romer Angulo next. He was supposed to fight him in April, and then fight Avni Yildirim after that. That fight got scrapped due to the coronavirus. It's been rescheduled. He's returning August 15th against Angulo, and then very likely going to face Yildirim before the end of the year, unless that Angulo fight doesn't go according to plan. Angulo is a big puncher, though. That guy can hit. He hasn't beaten anybody real significant, but he can hit. So Benavidez doesn't want to get careless in his fight. He needs to shake out that rust. He needs to box, use his speed and power, and dominate like he should. I think he will. I think he's going to get Angulo out of there in the first 3 or 4 rounds, retain his WBC title, and push forward towards his mandatory defense against Avni Yildirim later this year, which I also think he's going to knock Yildirim out early and be ready for a unification bout next year in 2021. But we'll see. Remember, August 15th versus Romer Angulo. Next and still number 3 is the former 2-time middleweight champion, Daniel Jacobs. Jacobs hasn't really, he's been saying he just wants to get one more kind of lesser name before he moves up to the big dogs at 168. The guy who's been rumored as the front runner for that has been Gabriel Rosado pretty much all year. Gabriel Rosado has been talking mad shit about Danny, calling him out. Danny said he wants to whip his ass. I think that's the front runner. I think that's who Danny's going to get. I think it's going to happen in the next 2-3 months once Canelo decides on his next opponent. And I think Danny's either going to stop him in the late rounds or get a clean decision to, go 2-0 at 168. and push forward towards something bigger next year. Next is still number 2 is the undefeated WBA Super Champion Callum Smith. Callum Smith was an option for Canelo. Apparently he priced himself out. Canelo moved on. There was talks of Callum Smith and John Ryder. Then he became an option for Canelo again and is still an option for Canelo right now. Most people are leaning towards that he's not going to get the fight, myself included. The coronavirus restrictions from traveling, stuff like that is part of it. But also, Callum Smith is going to want good size money, and Canelo's already taking a pay cut. I don't see Callum Smith taking a big pay cut, so I'm leaning towards a no. Could happen. I'm leaning towards a no. If he doesn't get the Canelo fight, I believe John Ryder's a rematch with John Ryder's a very serious consideration for him. I think that fight will happen, and I think he'll knock Ryder out in the rematch in the later rounds, or a one-sided decision to retain his WBA title again. And finally, still at number 1 is the WBA regular champion Canelo Alvarez. Canelo's going to be defending this belt in his next fight. He's fighting at 168 almost for sure. That's September 12th. We don't yet know who his opponent's going to be. We know the front runner right now is Sergey Derevyanchenko, but it really could be anybody at this point. David Lemieux's being rumored. Callum Smith and John Ryder from the United Kingdom are still being rumored. And then there's another couple names. So we're just going to have to wait and see what Canelo decides. Personally, I'm going to lean towards he's going to choose Sergey Derevyanchenko. I think it's the fight that makes the most sense considering the guy doesn't have a big name. It makes the most sense. He's coming off of impressive performances against Danny Jacobs and Triple G, in the last couple years. I think it would be a good, solid action fight. I think Canelo would come in as a good, solid favorite, and it'd be a good performance on both sides. So really looking forward to it. All right, guys, that's it. That's the top 10, the 2020 mid-year top 10s for the 168-pound super middleweight division, my number 3 division in boxing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. True boxing. You've been here with the truth.